Madam Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, distinguished ambassadors, guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening. On behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I warmly welcome you all today to this event. Today's event is a panel discussion in connection with the International Day of Tolerance that is observed worldwide on November 16th. The theme of this panel discussion is Tolerance in Contemporary Times. We will have a discussion of about 30 to 35 minutes, along with some video messages on the same theme. I have on stage our worthy panelists and moderator, Mr. Qibla Ayaz, former chairman, Council of Islamic Ideology, Bishop Humphrey Sarfraz Peters, Church of Pakistan, Mr. Krishan Sharma, leading lobbyist and human rights defender, Mr. Taranjeet Singh, renowned media personality, and we have Mr. Faisal Rahman from PTV World, renowned media person and anchor person, who will be moderating this panel discussion today. May I now request Honorable Foreign Minister Makhdoom Shah Mahmood Qureshi for his opening remarks.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, panelists, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum. The world celebrated the International Day of Tolerance. And in a country like Pakistan, which is an evolving democracy, where values of democracy are strengthening, where institutions are undergoing reforms, I feel to go to the level that as a pluralistic society we ought to, it is important to give this message of coexistence. Today, we have a very distinguished panel representing all the major religious groups in Pakistan. We have the Hindu community being represented here, which is, largely sort of located in the province of Sindh, but all over the country, but predominantly in Sindh. We have the Christian community, a very valuable community who have contributed so much to health and education in this country. We have the Sikhs, again, strong supporters and full of life, and the Muslims are also present here. The idea is to promote tolerance, because we cannot achieve what we want to achieve without tolerance. And unfortunately, let me accept that internationally we see a rising trend towards intolerance. So in this society, where intolerance is on the rise, it is important that we give a message of coexistence and a healthy coexistence. I think this government took a very important initiative, the Kartarpur initiative. It's not just the Kartarpur corridor, it's the spirit behind the corridor that's important. That was a message of tolerance, of harmony, of coexistence, that there's room for everyone. The Constitution says that. Islamic values inculcate that in us. The Constitution guarantees basic rights, fundamental rights. And at a time when there are economic challenges that have compounded because of the COVID-19 situation, people are edgy. People are feeling insecure. At that time, this message of tolerance is extremely important. Extremely important coming from a country like Pakistan. Because in our neighborhood, there are countries that are giving mixed signals, where you see intolerance on the rise, where you see a new ideology, an extremist ideology taking over and depriving people of their basic fundamental rights. People unsure of their rights, their liberty, their future. We see new laws being enacted which are discriminatory in nature. So, compared to that, Pakistan wants to send a very clear message that every ethnic group in Pakistan, every religious group in Pakistan is not only well respected, it is well protected under the Constitution and the laws of the land. And this message has to be sent and has to be disseminated right into the people. So I'm sure that this discussion that'll, this distinguished panel will kickstart today will help a debate, a national dialogue in the country for tolerance. I'll try and be back. I hope I can be back for the concluding remarks of the panel and get the gist. But thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting the invitation, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin our program by looking at a video message from a renowned professor of psychiatry, Dr. Muaddat Rana, who will be talking about the science of intolerance.
Harmony in diversity, that is what tolerance is. Unfortunately, when intolerance starts to breed in a society or a culture or in the world in general, it is often based on prejudice. Bigotry in its social expression is showing intolerance without processing or knowing enough about the so-called or the imagined enemy. It's often based on paranoia. It's often based on instructions received from unreliable resources of information through social media and so on and so forth. And therefore, in several intolerant societies of the world, bigotry and intolerance is shown out of some kind of misinformation and malinformation. As we grow psychosocially, we symbolize mother with our land, with our religion, with our language, with our skin color, with various other aspects that define our self. And everything that is seen as non-self is seen as a potential competitor. And that is where psychologically intolerance is rooted in human beings as normal human psyche. However, it is the duty of the society then to breed this child into a true adult citizen. And that true adult citizen then processes data exactly the way nature does, the tree does and the body does at a biological level. It bases its intolerance on some evidence, on some information, and then on some data. His or her intolerance is rational, objective, logical, always evidence-based, and yet prudent, making sure that harm or the challenge are justifiable and always in some proportion with the challenge made to it. However, what happens in emotionally illiterate people, when intolerance starts to breed in them, it is based on feelings, very strong, uncontrolled emotions of paranoia, of prejudice, of lust, of greed. And these uncontrolled emotions, which are to be controlled by the chief executive of human brain, the civilized part of human brain, is often not utilized, and then an human being turns into an emotionally illiterate individual, and the set of societies that is comprised of such humans become emotionally illiterate societies. Indus Valley civilization has been traditionally a tolerant society. However, there have been two major challenges to Indus Valley civilization, the part where Pakistan is today. One, the tribalism, the other, the caste system. However, through the messages of Sufis and early spreaders of Islam in this land, it rejected both tribalism as well as the issue of caste system, and brought people into what we term today as Mahmud Ayaz, standing in one line. Everybody is equal in the eyes of God. Everybody is a brother to each other, irrespective of his caste and creed and tribe, or for that matter, skin color. And that is what truly Pakistan of today is, an emotionally literate society.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know that 16th of November is a day which is primarily celebrated, observed and marked as a day of tolerance. I think this is one very important ingredient, unfortunately, missing in today's culture. Whether you talk about the East or you talk about the West, you talk about any religion, you will find the element of extremism, unfortunately, prevailing out there. Now, since this program is, I think it's a great idea of the Foreign Office, where people from various segments, people from various different ideologies, people from various religions will be sitting in this platform and will be sharing their own experience of living in Pakistan as a minority. Now, let me first introduce you to our first panelist. Ladies and gentlemen, on my left is Qibla Ayaz Saab, needs no introduction. Qibla Saab is the former Chair Council of Islamic Ideology of Pakistan, sir. Thank you very much for your presence.
Welcome.
We also have with us a very renowned, I would say, television personality, an anchor person who does a lot of traveling shows, is very popular all over Pakistan, rather also in the neighboring countries. Taranjeet Singh, thank you very much. Taranjeet Singh is representing the Sikh community here, and we'll be putting a lot of interesting questions to you also, Taran. And thank you very much once again for your presence. On my right is Bishop Humphrey Sarfraz Peter Saab, again a known personality from Pakistan. He's the head of the Church of Pakistan and the Bishop of Peshawar. Thank you very much, Bishop Saab, for your presence as well, sir.
Thank you.
And our fourth panelist on my right is Krishna Sharma Saab, again a known lobbyist, human rights activist, and presenting the Hindi community here. Thank you so much, Krishna Saab, for your presence as well. Now, if I may put the first question to you, Qibla Ayaz Saab, as we always do. Now, primarily the ideology and the idea behind this discussion is to revisit the concept of intolerance, xenophobia, extremism, and so on and so forth. I mean, there is a long list of words I can add. But it is not only related to South Asia for that matter. Unfortunately, this phenomena is a global phenomena. You talk about the West, you talk about Europe, you talk about other countries, and unfortunately, this very negative perception is being talked about, and is unfortunately, it is pretty malignant. Your take, sir.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for making me part of this panel, which is based on discussion on very important theme, tolerance in the contemporary world. Very right, you said that intolerance is increasing not only in the South Asia region but all over the globe. There are reasons behind it, and we have witnessed different events all over the world which lead us to see the events, the occurrences, the happenings of intolerance. But fortunately in Pakistan, although our country has been painted in bad light, but if we see the very basic announcement by the father of the nation, Quaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, on 11th August actually sets the direction for a tolerant and inclusive Pakistan, in which, although the slogan of Pakistan was that a country which has its law in consonance with the Islamic principles and the society in accordance with the Islamic principles, but the Islamic principles actually has a great space for peoples who belong to other faiths.
Very well said, Kusama. Definitely the second hour talks will be having more questions for you. But Taranjeet Singh, since we are also friends and I know you for a very long time, one of the most admired Sikhs in Pakistan. In the recent past, we have seen a great initiative taken by the government of Pakistan in the form of Kartarpur. Again, you talk about Nankana Sahib, or you talk about Panja Sahib and Hasan Abdal. These are the places we've been to so many times as kids also. So that relationship, that bond seems to be very strong, other than the Punjabi factor.
Yeah.
Your take?
Well, for Pakistan is a kind of a place for the Sikh community that they belongs to this land by hooks or by crooks, or by, I would say, the Sikh believe that Punjab is the Punjab for them as well. And if you talk about this Pakistan and Punjab is a region and the place where the Sikhism has been initiated, and then entire Punjab has all these historical places of Sikhs and Gurdwaras primarily. So this is something which is attraction, and for the Sikh, the love for Pakistan is always there, and the community in Pakistan, they're enjoying a good status. And at the ground zero, there is no intolerance. In fact, there is acceptance in society for everyone, irrespective of religion, position, status, even a language. I was in Balochistan. I've shooted most of my part in Balochistan, and the kind of love that I receive in Balochistan is amazing. So I can say Pakistani land, Pakistani blood, and Pakistani people are tolerant. We are born tolerant. This land belongs to Sufis, Gurus, Pir, Fakir, Sadhus, who teach us all the values of humans. If you talk about Ganga, if you talk about Ravi, this entire belt belongs to Sufis, and the Sufis taught us one thing. At the ground level, Pakistan is a beautiful, beautiful land and a beautiful country because the people are so loving. So my experience with Pakistan and Sikh coming from abroad, we both have the same experience, that Pakistan is a place of lovely and lively people.
Yeah, very well said. And this is what we see, and this is what we feel about you as well, Tareq. But definitely we'll have more chat about it. Now, coming to you, Bishop. The interesting part is now that whenever we look at the Sikh community, as a Christian Pakistani, we have seen a lot of people joining the armed forces of Pakistan. They are in the teaching profession, they are in profession, they are into music, and you name it, and they've been able to rise in so many different diversified fields. Your experience, Bishop, in Pakistan in particular?
Thank you very much, Faisal, in the first place, and thank you to the Foreign Ministry for arranging such an important, occasion, and especially touching this very important issue when internationally the problem of intolerance is increasing. It's a privilege and it's a joy and it's a blessing to be a Pakistani Christian. And you can well understand that the contribution of the church in look at the eradication of the leprosy, help for the special children, community-directed rehabilitation, especially for the disabled. Then, whenever there are natural calamities, you can see the frontline workers are always the church workers,
Yes.
And we are thankful for God that enabling us to contribute towards our country, and it's a joy and it's a blessing. And I would say, I come from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I'm a Bishop of Peshawar as well, though I look after the Church of Pakistan from Karachi to Peshawar. But normally people consider that Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is very fundamentalist, very extremist, and too much. I don't know. We are very, very happy over there. It's perfectly all right, no problem. I was born in Bannu, and my area is really Bannu area, and no discrimination at all, I roam with my cross and my shalwar kameez, and today I'm wearing my clergy outfit, but normally I'm in shalwar kameez. and acceptability and the joy, you know, especially when you go. And it's very interesting sometimes that in area like Parachinar, area like Sandikpur, tribal areas, you know, they said, even at the time of when they offer prayers, you know, they said, what happen if you're a Christian, come and pray with us, you know. So it's such a joy, you know, and we want that the church should further contribute for the promotion of the peaceful coexistence. And everyone who is really trying to sabotage this particular idea, I think each Pakistani has got this responsibility, rather a duty, you know, that we should be really countering that. And there are very few people, you know, very handful of people who create all these misunderstanding and differences. Otherwise, you know, you go and see, and you can even, as I told you, in the people which areas are called most fundamentalist area, extremist area, militant area, you can still see Christian roaming around with their crosses. Thank God that Pakistan is just like a bouquet, you know, and different religions are different beautiful flowers in it, you know.
Well,
And we cherish it and celebrate it, and it's our prayer that they should further grow and, you know, further become more and more beautiful.
Now coming to you, Sharma Saab, living in Pakistan, and interestingly, there's a lot of Hindus living in Pakistan, mostly in the province of Sindh, yes. And mashallah, one of our very senior MLA from Pakistan Tehreek Insaf, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, is also in the same community. And whenever I happen to talk to him, I get to learn so much about, like yesterday, the Prime Minister celebrated and congratulated you also. Not celebrated, congratulated actually, the Diwali. And that was such a beautiful, visual to see so many colors and so many interesting features. Because whenever the society is diversified, there is so much color in it. And every color has its own, it's just like a rainbow. Your experience, do share that.
First of all, I must congratulate to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and celebrate this International Day of Tolerance. I think it's first time when we are sending a message to the global community that as a responsible state, we are aware about our role in international peace and prosperity and coexistence. As far as I am concerned as a Pakistani Hindu, I think I must share under Liaquat Nehru Pact. They offered two options for Hindus and Sikhs, whether you are living in Pakistan or to migrate India. But our elders, it's a matter of proud for me really, they decided to give priority to the land, not faith. And you know why they had decided to live in Pakistan? My grandpa told me that three things were behind that decision. Number one was the message of Islam. Your religion is yours and my religion is mine. Number one. Number two, there is no compulsion. Number three, the white color in a flag.
Yeah.
And the third one is the Jinnah's vision at the time of creation of this country. Three major forces were behind that decision. And when we born and got education in public schools where the majority of the students were Muslims, and presently I have thousands of friends, the majority of them are Muslims. So our orientation and education is entirely different. As you know, the Sindh is a little different from other part of the Pakistan. you can observe their coexistence, how weekend people are celebrating their festivals.
So rich in culture.
Yeah, our shrines are common, our colors are common. So, as a Hindu Pakistani, I have experience to very right place to live with fresh air and breathe. As far as the subject is concerned, like tolerance, since last 2 decades, we have experienced some marks, some indicators that the society is adopting intolerance towards religious minorities, but at very small level. But I must appreciate the role of the state to ensure the tolerance in the society. The state institutions are behind us. They facilitated us everywhere, at every state. So I think Pakistan society needs some additional actions to ensure the tolerance in the society. For that purpose, we have to revisit some our syllabus and some other practices. One more thing which I would like to mention here. Since last decade, we have different laws which were passed for the protection for the minority. Recently, the Council of Islamic Ideology gave a landmark judgment, like judgment of Justice Jilani, judgment on 19th June of 2014. It was also landmark judgment. So the state is providing that space to the religious minorities, whether Hindu, Sikhs, Christians or Muslims.
And on top, sir, you must have also witnessed a lot of legislation, ma'am, is also taking place in the upper house as well as in the lower house to safeguard the interest of Hindus, and in particular a lot of other minorities as well. And I think that's a great initiative, because that's how you move forward collectively. That is the approach, and inshallah, I mean, I think this is the first time that brilliant initiative has been taken by the Foreign Office, but I believe, and I would really, support this cause, and we would like to encourage people like you to come and talk, and especially throw light on this very important aspect. Now, coming back to you, Qibla Sahib, when we talk about issues like intolerance for that matter, or the level of acceptability has gone down as well, don't you think the role of media to promote the true picture of society is also really important?
Yes. Very right. The actual position on ground is very encouraging, but because of the role of media, because media in the main, global media particularly, thrives on projecting the negative aspects of the things. If you see in Pakistan, the historic church is everywhere, well preserved, well maintained, and with government patronage. Then you see the gurdwaras, the temples, and recently the opinion that was developed by the Council of Islamic Ideology on the question of a Hindu temple in Islamabad. So the Council of Islamic Ideology unanimously gave its opinion that according to Islamic provisions, and then Pakistani constitution, and then throughout the history of Islam, there are provisions that peoples of other faith have been not only allowed but facilitated. We are very proud that Pakistan, particularly for Sikh community, is like for us is the Kaaba.
Taranjeet Singh.
Well, I think we need to do some few things. The ground realities are totally different because I'm the one I can explain better because I've traveled across Pakistan, more than 1 lakh kilometer in Pakistan in last 3 years. So what I saw, I can reflect that. But at the same time, Pakistan need to do some broad lines. For example, you have to highlight minorities. You have to have them in different fields to give the message of tolerance, not only tolerance, acceptance and peaceful coexistence to the world. And secondly, this kind of platform where you are addressing your own masses, public at large in Pakistan about the diversity, and let's begin with commonalities. Let's talk about common things. Let's talk about the common factors that we have, and let's convince the international media, international community that Pakistan is not the one that you're projecting. But for that, it's our responsibility to create much more impact, much more such occasions, such conferences, seminars, and there again, this is not a goal to be achieved. It's a journey to be continued. So we have to take that journey to to give a message of Pakistan. It's a need of the hour. Kartarpur Sahib was a corridor there. See, Baba Nanak was born in Nankana Sahib. There's a 2 places, 2 shrines, which was on the 2 sides of the border. That's just in 1.5 kilometer distance. There was a dera where Baba Nanak was living, and there's a place where he was preaching, and there he was cultivating the crops. So by the factor of partition, by the division, there was a border between the lines. So Sikh community was demanding this from 90s, that at least give access to this Gurdwara which is on the border. If not, the other Gurdwara will take with a visa. Pakistan have pilgrimage treaty act with India and with the other countries. So on the 5 occasions, Pakistani government invites Sikhs from around the world. On Baba Guru Nanak Ji Janam Din, then we have Baisakhi, then we have Maharaja Ranjit Singh Barsi, then we have Baba Guru Nanak Ji Jyoti Jyot Samaman Gurpurab. So we have 5 occasions which Sikhs are allowed by the numbers. There's a number defined, need to be the number will be increased, and that are increased already because the people are unofficially on other days are coming from the Western world. And then Kartarpur Sahib on a daily basis, you are allowing more than 5,000 people just to go in the morning, pray there, eat the langar, spend some good time and come back. And also that's believe me, that become a point where people who are like friends or families or people who are living in a mixed community pre-partition, they're meeting there. A few days ago I saw a video, there was a guy from Sahiwal, he wants to meet his childhood friend who is now settled in Delhi. So after the social media and campaign, they come to know about one another, and he was invited, and that guy was waiting in the stairs, and suddenly the gentleman from Delhi just arrived, and they hugged for 40 minutes. There was a story of a mother who went to India in 1951 that you mentioned about Nehru and Liaquat Ali decision. So she went to India and the daughter left here because after partition the whole family went to India. She left here, she got married over here, then she had 2 daughters, and she went to India in 1951 but never came back because of the situation. So luckily in social media they get about one another. The mother was alive, the daughter was alive. They met at Kartarpur Sahib, and there was an occasion, there was a place, there was a time which I realized that it's a really not gift for Sikh only, but a gift for the both side of Punjab and both communities who at once were living in a peaceful coexistence. And talk about Pakistan, we have 4 million Hindu community, we have 3.5 million Christian community. They are contributing in health, they are contributing in education, Gulab Devi, Janki Devi, Gangaram hospitals, the schools. Then on top of all the minorities in Pakistan are within the bracket of Pakistani constitution. If you visit to the jails, you will hardly find a minority in any criminal activity. So we are son of a soil.
So many brilliant, I would say, success stories. I mean, those who work hard, as they say, that where there's a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
So let's share some of those stories with us.
You must know the Middle Court, he was known as the
One of the best mans, yeah.
defender of
Best man,
Karachi,
absolutely.
when the wars were there. And the other thing is this, that it is very clear. Christian had a slogan, at the time of partition. And there used to be people who used to say that Jisne Manga Pakistan, usko milega Kabristan. And the Christian replied to this. They said, Seene pe goli khayenge, Pakistan banayenge. So this is the approach, and this is the love for the country, and this is on which we really depend and really want to further contribute. And there are so many, the contribution, as I told you earlier, in the health sector, social welfare, and also in education. Everywhere it is there, you know. So, but at the same time, the church believes that it has to be a source of healing for the rest of the Pakistan. It's not only the medical side or anything, but socially, they should be really act like a healing touch for the rest of the Pakistani. And that is why church has this duty and responsibility to further promote the peaceful coexistence and also to further develop the concept of tolerance. And wherever there is intolerance, the church has to take up the steps to curb it. And difficulties and the challenges are there, you know, but these difficulties and challenges are everywhere in the world. It's not only Pakistan, you know. They're all over the world. But as Pakistanis, again I would say, what is my contribution to make my own country beautiful? And especially for our coming generations, what are we trying to, you know, transfer to our generations? That is very important. Because our youngsters, they haven't seen many things. Many things. I mean, when I was studying, I was studying in the Peshawar University, and I was the only Christian in my department, in the English department, and I was only Christian, and I used to be the president of the department, you know. And during, especially whenever there used to be Shiite times, you know, all these people going from one Imam Bargah to another, our house was never closed, you know, the doors were never closed in the night, because the Shia ladies, they have to come for the water and, you know, even for the facilities, they come. This kind of Pakistan our children haven't seen. So what we need to do is that as Pakistanis, we have to further look at my particular responsibility, rather than depending totally on the government, you know. But this is how we have to proceed ahead. We have to see to it, and we have to become a source of healing for each other, you know, and to carry everyone alongside, you know.
As they say, together we can, together we must.
Together we are the solution, actually.
Exactly.
The solution to every problem.
Together, I think that is the key, sir.
Yeah.
Your take.
Sir, the Pakistan which we are discussing now, it's not visible before our kids. The ideal Pakistan with cultural values, you know, with coexistence, brotherhood. It's missing in the observance of my own kids. So, as a state, as a citizen of Pakistan, it's all we people who are living in country, it's our prime duty to work collectively and address this issue. In Sindh, the rice business, the cotton business is running by the Hindu business.
Oh yes.
So we have to recognize them too for the mainstream. Through mainstreaming, we can make Pakistan a pluralistic society, a tolerant society, a democratic society, a liberal society where we can exist together.
I think we are moving in the right direction.
True.
And all the religions are just like this bouquet. So beautiful. One won't look so beautiful. So collective makes the bouquet look gorgeous. Anyway, once again, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your presence here. And I would say that I think it's a great initiative taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I hope and pray that such occasions should be a regular phenomenon out here. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Ms. Saina.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal Rahman, for conducting this interesting conversation, and I am grateful to all our panelists for their candid views and joining us here together. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are seeing an unrelenting wave of intolerance worldwide, and one of its manifestation is Islamophobia. Let us have a look at a micromentary that we have made. on this subject.
Unprecedented is how police are describing this attack. Scores dead as 2 mosques are targeted during Friday prayers. People ran for their lives, but many did not make it.
और दूसरी बात तो ये है कि मुसलमान तो इस देश के अंदर रहना नहीं चाहिए।
मुसलमान
provocations and incitement to hate and violence must be universally outlawed. This assembly should declare an international day, combat Islamophobia.
Waited generations to take these steps. Many feared they'd never live to see the day they could walk from India into Pakistan to pray at one of their religion's most holy shrines.
Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Imran Khan has strongly championed the cause of interfaith harmony at home and abroad. Government of Pakistan has proactively lent its voice to issues like combating Islamophobia and promoting interfaith harmony at major international fora. I would now like to invite Mr. Usman Jadoon, Director General UN at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to talk about Government of Pakistan's effort to combat Islamophobia and promote tolerance and interfaith harmony internationally.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the UN Charter, starting with the words, "We the peoples," envisaged a world of peaceful coexistence and realization of human dignity. These noble ideals can only be achieved by promoting principles of equality, inclusion, and tolerance. The world has come a long way from the horrors of the world wars to decolonization, to addressing the issue of structured racism against people on the basis of their descent, color, religion, or belief. Social movements, information technologies, and fast nodes of communication have resulted in developing better understanding of different cultures and enhance interaction and interdependence. At the same time, they have also been harbingers of certain contemporary challenges in the forms of propagation of hate speech on the internet, fake news, disparagement of religious symbols, and negative stereotyping against minorities and migrants. Pakistan has always strived to be at the forefront of global efforts for promoting interfaith and intercultural harmony, and for building international frameworks to curb hate speech, xenophobia, and discrimination. I would like to briefly share a few initiatives undertaken by Pakistan at the United Nations and other multilateral fora in this regard. Pakistan's contributions to the decolonization process of the 1950s and 1960s is well known within the UN system and beyond. Subsequently, Pakistan also participated actively in the discussions on racism and discrimination, such as in the framework of Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, and in the framework of Durban Declaration and Program of Action. Through the UN human rights mechanisms like the Universal Periodic Review and the various treaty bodies, Pakistan has particularly focused on the themes of combating intolerance. Pakistan was one of the earliest signatories of the Convention Against Elimination of Racial Discrimination. We are proud to co-lead the consensus-based UN General Assembly resolution on promotion of interreligious and intercultural dialogue, understanding and cooperation for peace. This initiative has helped in mainstreaming the interlinkages between harmony and peace in the UN discussions. As coordinator of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, for human rights issues in Geneva, Pakistan spearheads the consensus-based Human Rights Council Resolution 16/18 on combating intolerance, xenophobia, negative stereotyping, stigmatization and discrimination on the basis of religion or belief. Pakistan, along with Turkey, United States and United Kingdom, oversee the Istanbul process. This is the intergovernmental framework which has been established for implementing the resolution. In the United Nations, Pakistan feels proud to have earned for itself the reputation of a bridge builder and moderator between different regional and political groups. This unique role is reflective of our multicultural, ethnic and religious diversity. Pakistan is also an active member of the UN Alliance of Civilizations. Pakistan has been raising the issue of Islamophobia in particular at all appropriate fora. It has helped in highlighting this menace and for developing a better understanding of its dangerous consequences. Pakistan is also working assiduously to strengthen the international framework against propagation of hate speech, incitement to violence, disinformation, and extremism on the internet, especially social media. Ladies and gentlemen, our efforts for achieving these goals are manifold and spread over several decades. We will continue with our diplomatic endeavors for promoting tolerance, mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, inclusion, and respect for international law and all human rights at the United Nations and other multilateral fora. And this has been a very interesting and a very inspiring panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Osman. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have some video messages from eminent personalities from abroad in connection with the International Day of Tolerance. We'll see video messages from Baroness Saida Warsi, lawyer, businesswoman and former cabinet minister from United Kingdom, and former ambassador, anthropologist, Islamic scholar, poet and filmmaker, Ambassador Akbar Ahmed, on the International Day of Tolerance.
Assalamu alaikum. As we mark the International Day of Tolerance, I want to remember the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his final khutbah when he talked about equality between races. And I also want to remember the words of Quaid-e-Azam when he talked about equality between race and creed and religion in the creation of the state of Pakistan. And I want to remember last November and the opening of the Kartarpur corridor, when Pakistan showed itself to be a beacon of hope, an oasis of calm, and a land of hospitality. So on this International Day, I want us to pledge to go beyond tolerance and to show acceptance and love. Unfortunately, there are far too many people around the world who want to create conflict between communities. And therefore we each have to pledge and strive to create a better world, to accept tolerance as a minimum, but to strive to go beyond that towards acceptance and love.
The idea of Pakistan is reflected in the vision of Quaid-e-Azam, the vision of human rights, women's rights, minority rights, the rule of law, and above all, the rejection of nepotism and corruption. People don't often realize that Pakistan is an ancient civilization with some of the world's great religions in it, Islam of course, but also Buddhism, Hinduism, and of course Sikhism. The founder of the great faith of the Sikhs was born and died in Pakistan. It is a great time for people to discover Pakistan and for Pakistanis to rediscover the great features of their own identity and character. Pakistan Zindabad.
I would now like to invite Madam Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs for the concluding remarks. Madam.
Thank you so much, distinguished panelists, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for coming on our invitation to the Foreign Office. And we are privileged to have amongst us the best of brains in our minorities who are actually affecting the majorities. And of course, the flag of green will never be complete without the white part in it which you represent. So ladies and gentlemen, as we observe the International Day of Tolerance, we are confronted with this sad spectre of intolerance everywhere. But it would be really wrong to associate intolerance with a specific region, religion, or creed. At its core is the frailty of human psyche, the weakness, a mindset born out of circumstances of populism to advance self-interests and agendas. Today, in the echo chambers of social media, in the populist rhetoric of mainstream politics, intolerance finds a very receptive host. So in the face of adversity, it is all too convenient to incarcerate ourselves in the prisons of our own prejudice. So the challenge for us in our contemporary times, ladies and gentlemen, is to educate ourselves out of this ignorance, because it's a combination of two factors which kill societies and which kill peace: ignorance plus arrogance. It's an unbeatable combination to destroy. And to get out of it, we must get out of ignorance and learn about each other, and we must get out of arrogance and be humble enough to know and accept that there is another point of view. So, our responsibility, as my august panel said, has increased, because we have to pass on this message for the future of this world, for the future generations of this world. Unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic has increased the fissures, the divisions, and the distances, and has given surface to violence against vulnerable minorities. Politicization of hijab, desecration of the Holy Quran, of Islamic symbols and sites, insulting caricatures, all have hurt the sensibilities of the 1.8 billion Muslims of the world, which is nearly a quarter of the population in this world. Pakistan has condemned these actions. The Prime Minister has been in the forefront of calling for outlawing willful provocation and incitement to hate and violence. He has, as you saw, asked for an international day to combat Islamophobia. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to propose out of this discussion some contributing parts to promote tolerance. We must, number one, continue to develop among non-Muslims and Muslims alike deeper understanding of Islam and all religions, their revered symbols, and their many commonalities. There is a fifth habit of all great people and great humanity. That fifth habit is seek first to understand and then to be understood. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. But we reverse it. We seek first to be understood, and we impose, and we become arrogant, and we humiliate, while the other party may be holding true their own values. Number 2, criminalize deliberate insults against any religion, just as denial of the Holocaust is a crime in many countries. Number 3, while protecting basic human rights, also work on developing an understanding on the limitations of freedom of expression. Freedom of expression is not freedom to insult. Freedom of expression is not freedom to hurt. So, number 4, review discriminatory policies and refrain from practices that fan intolerance, discrimination, hatred, arrogance. Number 5, support Prime Minister's proposal to designate 15th of March as the International Day to counter Islamophobia. And number 6, strengthen international framework against propagation of hate speech, incitement to violence, disinformation, and extremism on the internet. History bears witness to the sad fact that intolerance beyond certain threshold leads to horrific consequences. When you value differences, respect them, only then you can create new ways of thinking and moving forward and grow this world and leave a world for our children and the future generation which is peaceful, prosperous, and wonderful again. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of our program. On behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, once again, I would like to thank Mr. Faisal Rahman, our worthy panelists, and all the distinguished guests who joined us for this event.